This is the all-new 2020 Toyota Highlander. Yes, Toyota's very popular and, quite frankly, very well-rounded three-row SUV. Now, pricing in Canada for the all-new 2020 Highlander for the L front-wheel drive starts at $39,990. For that money, well, you get the 3.5-liter V6. It is, as I said, front-wheel drive. You get Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, 8-inch touchscreen, power driver seats, heated front seats, Toyota Safety Sense, and a bunch more. But none of that really matters because it's front-wheel drive. Essentially, it is a pointless version in Canada, but it does serve a purpose, which is to have a starting price below $40,000. In the US, it's very different. Base price is $34,600, also for a front-wheel drive model. In fact, front-wheel drive is optional on most trims. Before I go on with the trims, there is a hybrid version, obviously, and this is not it, so I won't be talking much about it, if at all. Okay, so if you want all-wheel drive in Canada, then you move up to the LE all-wheel drive, which is $43,490. It adds serious all-wheel drive and a few other elements. Good package. But I think the most interesting one, not exactly cheap though, is the XLE. You do get the power hatch and a number of other features as well. It's $45,990. Now my tester is none of those. You may have seen the badge as I walked around the rear. I'm gonna do the full walk around again. This is a limited, which retails for $51,690. Justification for the price bump, well, you get whatever, leather seats, JBL audio, the 20-inch wheels you see right there, cooled front seats. But if you want more, you can add a platinum package on top of the limited. Total price $53,990, gives you a 12.3-inch display, the IP display, heads-up display, and a few other things. Ultimately, limited and above, not really worth it in my opinion. XLE is the way to go. All right, so I guess we're down to doing, well, styling. Look, it looks great. This is definitely the beefiest, most macho Highlander Toyota has ever produced. And what I kind of find funny is that there are a lot of new Sienna lines in there. You see that kind of the line that goes through the doors and blends into the rear wheel arches. You see exactly that in the new Sienna. So it's kind of funny. They made it more SUV-like, more macho, but they did the same to the Sienna. So I don't know if that cancels itself out. It really doesn't matter because I actually like the Sienna styling. I'm actually really looking forward to driving that minivan. All right, so power hatch mentioned. Opens up to 1,150 liters of a very usable, very accessible trunk space. It's 48 cubic feet. There's very little to say. There's a compartment under here, but there are no divisions, so things kind of do slide around, but that's a pointless detail. Some of the plastics kind of feel cheap, but I mean, it's a trunk. This is not a luxury vehicle, although in some respects it certainly feels like it. All right, well, this is one of the things that I love about a lot of these three-row SUVs is that designers are putting in large rear doors to make access to the third row actually possible. And I've done it, and it's actually easy. You have your little levers down here, which will actually adjust seats fore and aft. You can adjust the seat back, and you can just roll it, flip it forward to get back there. And it is possible to do so. But look, when you do use the second row at its full potential, loads and loads of room. There's actually space for another adult between the two seats, you know, a reasonably sized adult. The kids have tons of room. They love it. There's another thing that I always love. Oh yeah, you have USB ports down here, and then you have your climate control settings right there. Nice touches up front. Yes, well, you know, there it is. The seats, they're actually quite comfortable. They are plush and supple with decent support. You can see the bolstering here. It's actually fairly deep. I guess we'll get in. You know, the surfaces are nice. The textures are good. It's, again, not luxurious. It's just purely Toyota functionality, and it absolutely works. All right, while I'm here, is your heated steering wheel button. Wow, it's warm in here. Start her up. All right, so there's your 8-inch screen, and what I do love about how Toyota does things, at least for the moment, is you have a series of hard buttons on both sides, right there. So accessing various menus, very, very easy. Same here, like compared to, you know, some cars have a much larger screen, but these controls, the climate controls, are part or in the menus in the screen, which can take a long time. This, you can turn on your cooled seats when it is 28 degrees Celsius outside. HVAC, very straightforward. It's a nice combination of flat surface buttons with a kind of glossy, lustery finish, but everything is very clearly indicated. And then it gets better. Oh, well, while I'm here. Gauges, clear, simple, nice mix of analog and digital, but here we go. This is Toyota doing things smartly, or almost. You can put your wire through there if you want to use, say, Apple CarPlay and whatnot, or charge a phone, but you do have another option. But this pouch is perfect. It's just deep enough to put in a couple of phones. There's plenty of room for stuff, but then look at that. More for your passenger. Also has a little compartment. I adore that. Absolutely adore that. Now down here you have, I guess we could call it the mask cubby hole. Decent spots up here. You have your drive mode controls and all of that. Here is perhaps the only kind of mistake. Okay, so to access the compartment here, there's your wireless phone charger. So what that means is, I can't really show you because I'm using my phone, but you can sit your phone there. But if you want to access something in the compartment, that's the only way to do it. So your phone goes flying or you have to remove it. Even so, the compartment is fairly deep. This is really the only shortcoming, I guess. Maybe, you know, as they do updates, they'll put the wireless phone charger down there. Otherwise, well, there's your JBL audio. I don't know if you can see that. Visibility is actually pretty good. My seating, this is always winning when you can actually see when you're making that left-hand turn. My seat position is at the lowest, so you get a pretty good idea of what kind of visibility you're actually dealing with. The window surface is quite big. It works out nice. I mean, yes, the base of the A-pillar is large, but you can actually see around it just enough. It's funny because I always move in to my press vehicles, and I did the exact same thing with this Highlander, and I had to empty it before I shot my video. This one is actually, I don't know, it's right up there with one of the easiest vehicles to live with as a family on the road today, available in North America. Anyhow, let's go for a spin and I'll tell you a little bit more. Alright, so driving the 2020 Toyota Highlander is, well, it actually reminds me in many respects of the Outback last week. It's serene, it's comforting, it's almost relaxing, it's pleasurable. Essentially, it's what it is. And there is one key element to making that possible, and this applies on so many all-new vehicles, and that's because many of them are now being built and assembled on these global platforms, which are so strong, so well engineered, that the chassis, the dampers, the suspension, in this case the multi-link setup and all of that, only has to do the job of dampening and controlling, you know, roll and bumps and all of that, as opposed to making up for weaknesses in the structure. So that means exactly that. The dampers give you comfort, give you handling, and I'm not kidding. Let's just get right into that. The Highlander feels almost sporty-ish, like it's just a tinge, you know, thinking that maybe this thing can take your favorite on and off ramp at a little bit higher rate of speed than you think. That could have something to do with the 20-inch wheels, which would normally be an issue for comfort in a vehicle like this, but it's not. So I can only imagine how smooth and serene, again, and comfortable the ride is in the Highlander with the 18-inch wheels. So maybe that's one of the advantages you get with the limited 20-inch wheels. You know, lower sidewalls, sharper handling, sharper. Keep your hands on the wheel, what the hell? Speaking of the wheel, I mean, steering is really nice. It's beautifully balanced. The assistance is almost invisible. You feel a little bit of weight, but there's no on-center play. I mean, I've recently driven sporty cars that have this annoying loss of assistance once you get in the middle, but this one loads up immediately, nicely, and seamlessly. Brakes, lovely brake pedal. In the past, Toyota has had some issues with really long travel, poorly responsive brake pedals, but that's in the past. I suppose where everything belongs. The ride, look at this. The road is crap right now, and I'm just, not gliding over it, but the dampers are doing their job. Now I've mentioned there's a hybrid version, which this is not. This is the 3.5 liter V6, which puts out wheel spin, 295 horsepower, 267 pound-feet of torque, as of 4,700 RPM. Here, look at this. It's one of my favorites. Ramps, and I'm on the throttle right now. I'm not giving her, but having a good time. You can do that in a Highlander now. Yeah, isn't that amazing? It puts a smile on my face. All right, so the V6, it's creamy smooth, ultra responsive. It feels nice, beautifully adapted to the Highlander. Same thing for the 8-speed automatic transmission. It's always doing what you need it to do. It's not uber quick to do its job, but it does it exactly when you really want it to do it. And to be quite frank, I've been in normal drive mode almost exclusively all week. There's no point in playing with the drive modes in this thing. It just goes. And it goes so well. And impressively, I mean, I'm averaging about 11 and change, 11.2 liters per 100 kilometers, which is pretty good considering that the vast majority of my driving so far this week has been done in the city. If you do drive, a little bit more of a mix with a little bit more highway, you'll easily get into the low 10s overall, which is pretty good considering the size of this vehicle. V6 and the 8-speed and all of that will also enable you to tow up to 5,000 pounds. So there really isn't anything that the Highlander can't do. You got the room, the space, the versatility, capabilities, and all of that. I mean, I really like this thing. I really do. In this segment, there are a lot of winners. That has to be mentioned. One of my favorite winners is the Subaru Ascent. Its 2.4 liter flat 4 turbocharged engine is punchier than this. But again, there's something to be said about Toyota's V6, and when you do throttle it, it makes some nice noises, surprisingly. Yeah, I like the Ascent, I like the styling, everything about it. Big fan of the Mazda CX-9. Still really a big fan of the Volkswagen Atlas, and that silly old Dodge Durango still puts a smile on my face too. But it's a Toyota Highlander. It's since it arrived 20 years ago. I mean, it's been one of the better options in the segment. Very few negative things to say about it. If you're shopping for a 2-year-old used one, well, that's negative for you, because they're in strong demand and they're reliable and they have a great reputation for doing everything well, right, properly. And that applies to this one. If you do shop for a Highlander and you choose to overlook everything else, can't fault you. I mean, I've mentioned some of the interesting choices in the segment, but the Highlander is still right up there. I love this thing. Although I'm a little bit more excited about the Sienna. I swear to you, I am. I really am.